Hi, I'm Amy Koranek. I'm a Sculpey brand ambassador, and today we're in the Sculpey studios to take a look at all things Liquid Sculpey. Liquid Sculpey is so versatile and easy to use. You can tint it, you can color it, you can add inclusions like glitter and flowers. You can do all kinds of things with it. It's so versatile and so fun. We're going to take a look at some projects that we can do using molds, using other techniques, tips and tricks. It's all here in everything Liquid Sculpey. First, let's take a look at the different colors that Liquid Sculpey comes in. So this is representative of our matte colors. There are lots and lots of matte colors, and there's 3 here. Then we have a line of metallics and pearly. These 2 colors come in the translucents, and then we also have a glow in the dark, and then we have clear Liquid Sculpey. And so those are just the color varieties that it comes in. Also, I want you to know that Liquid Sculpey is super strong and very flexible, especially when it's thin. So these items came from our lace mold, and you can see that those are just so thin and flexible they could be mounted to other things or used alone because they're so strong. And with that in mind, let's take a look first at how to mold with Liquid Sculpey and some of the different colors that we have. Oh, before I get to the molding, we do need to talk about stirring. So all liquids have to be stirred, and so this is a sample of peacock pearl. When you stir that, you would just take the lid completely off. You can use your favorite knitting needle or whatever favorite stirring tool you have. And the colors of Liquid Sculpey, you just stir them until they feel, smooth and even. The clear Liquid Sculpey has its own stirring technique, and so we're going to go through that in detail. Now, this is a bottle of clear Liquid Sculpey, and when you start to use clear Liquid Sculpey, you're going to notice that it is very unique, and that's because it's the only color that goes completely clear in the oven. What I like to do with clear Liquid Sculpey is pour it completely out of the bottle. And when I first started pouring, you could see how really runny it was. And now as I'm pouring, it's just getting thicker and thicker. And clear Liquid Sculpey naturally has a settling that occurs in the bottle, and now it's just getting thicker and thicker. The thin product goes to the top and the thicker product goes to the bottom. And I'm just going to use this little tool to scrape what's in that bottom portion out and get that in the cup too. You want to make sure with clear Liquid Sculpey that you're getting everything out of the bottle, because that is what makes it go clear. If you don't have, the proportion of the liquidy part to the non-liquidy part, it's not going to go clear in the oven or under a heat gun. So I hope that you can see that seems even sort of crusty in there. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how the product is. And so you just use whatever tools you have available to pull that out. So I've broken it up, and now it's wanting to come out like so. It comes out almost like an egg white is what it reminds me of. How it has just its own very unique consistency. And you just want to get as much of that out of the bottle as you possibly can. Sometimes I'll even destroy the bottle just to get it all out. So once I put my clear Liquid Sculpey into a new vessel, you could put it in a little glass dish, or you could put it in one of our mixing silicone sets, or you could put it in a silicone baking cup that are used for cupcakes. Once I get it out of this bottle, I don't ever put it back in. I just leave it on my workstation in an open vessel so that I can stir it every time I use it. And I'm just going back in and loosening up some more of this to get it out. I think I'll take a straight tool here and really try to get a little bit more of that out. Just getting it loose. So we do field some comments from time to time about the Liquid Sculpey being separated, the clear Liquid Sculpey being separated, and that's true, it does separate naturally, but it just needs to be remixed. Okay, I'll just go ahead and stir this up now and show you how that works. So I just start stirring, and right away you can just tell how lumpy it is, and that's completely normal. Now if you store some of this in your studio for a while, it may be thicker than, you know, it may have more thick stuff in it. If it's a brand new bottle that you just bought at the store, it might have less thick stuff in the bottom. But it's all good. You can still use it as long as you get it reincorporated. And it's pretty amazing how quickly it reincorporates. You don't have to do this with all the colors. Just the clear one has this property of separating. But already you can see how it's coming into a more uniform consistency. Now, when you have things in an open mixing cup like this, it makes it really easy to determine if you want to thin it or not. And later in this video, I'm going to show you a multicolored pour where we want all the colors the same consistency. And that is the reason you might thin something, is because you might want to use multiple colors and they're not all the same, and so you would want to make them all the same before you begin. So this is a good point at which you could add some of our clay softener and thinner if you want. But that was fairly quick right there, and this is a really good consistency. It's going to pour really well. So I'm just going to set this aside for now, and we're going to use it a little bit later in this same video and add some color and some glitter to it. And I'll also show you how to use the thinner at that point. Okay, first let's take a look at filling a mold. Now molds come in so many varieties, and if they could be very thin like this one, they could be a little bit thicker like that one. And these are all Sculpey mold samples or examples, but really all molds that go with, let's say, fondant making or chocolate molding, as long as they're silicone, even ice cube trays, those are all fair game for using with Liquid Sculpey, because all of those molds can go into an oven. Generally, liquid or silicone is heat safe to about 400 degrees. And so since we only bake at 275, really all silicone molds are eligible to be great kickstarters for your Liquid Sculpey projects. So when you fill a thin mold like this one, you can use your finger to really move the liquid around and get it into all the little cracks and bumps and all the little designs. That's one way you can fill your mold. Another way you can do it is these very thin molds come with a squeegee, and you just want to hold that at an angle and drag. And then when you want to watch for little dark areas where there's no liquid, and then just go back over that. And you just keep going until it's completely full. I can even use the tip of my squeegee to move the liquid around into areas where there's not enough. You can always add more, like here, and then squeegee again. In my home studio, if I get a lot of excess liquid on the squeegee, I'll open the bottle and put that right back in, because I don't want to waste any of it. It's good stuff, and I don't want to waste it. So that looks really clean in the background. That would go in your oven to be baked, following the baking instructions for Liquid Sculpey. Then when it's all done baking, you could peel that out, and this is how the peacock pearl looks when it's baked. It's so beautiful and shiny, and it's ready to go into any project. So that just goes right in the oven for curing. We'll talk a little bit more about baking as we go along as well. Some molds are polished, and these particular molds that we have designed for jewelry, these are polished. That means they're real shiny down there in the part where the liquid clay sits. And what that does is it gives the molded piece a real smooth shine to it. If you have molds that are not polished, the Liquid Sculpey will pick up whatever surface the mold has in it. So I want to move on and talk a little bit about these thicker jewelry molds that we have. This is our jewelry mold that has built-in posts. And the reason we have those is because this was the way that we gave our customers the ability to make jewelry pieces that already have a hole in them for assembling like pendant pieces or earrings, and then all you have to do is assemble them with jump rings. Let me show you a tip for filling around the post. So what I like to do is I always start at the post and I squirt the liquid right up there by it. Even if I take the tip of my bottle and push the post over, I like to do that because that ensures that I've got Liquid Sculpey all the way around that post, because you want that to be strong. While we're filling this mold, I want to show you a marbling technique. So I'm going to use another color and I'll just layer this in here in stripes. Now I'm not filling this all the way up at this point. I'm leaving it down a bit from the edges, and I'm doing that intentionally. Now that I've got some stripes in there, what I want to do is just take a basic needle tool and I'm going to swirl the colors together. And you can do this as randomly or as patterned specific as you like. And that is one way to marble. Now, what I did when I put the needle tool in, I dipped it into the liquid and I went all the way to the surface of the mold. If you don't go all the way in and touch the surface of the mold, you won't get the marbling effect clear through the piece. And it's actually the bottom side of the mold that is going to turn out to be the front. So you think of it like you're filling the back of the piece. And so you want to create those swirls. Now at this point, what you want to do is you can backfill this, and we're going to backfill with just a basic color. Or you could do the stripes again and do more swirling if you want. But you just want to fill the mold completely. And then what you want to do is tap the mold on your work surface. And this is going to release air bubbles and help them get untrapped from the surface of the mold. If you see stubborn air bubbles that rise to the surface, you can take a needle tool and go ahead and pop those. All right, let's go ahead and fill another one of these with just a little bit of clear in one area. And I want to show you how to add some glitter to make a little effect. You can put a lot of inclusions in clear Liquid Sculpey, which makes that really fun. So I'm just going to add just the tiniest bit, and this time I'm just going to, I don't want to add glitter to my entire vessel of clear. I want to keep that for other projects. So you can even add the glitter right into the mold. And then what I can do just for a design effect is I can fill the rest of the mold with another color. And what I would do is fill it just till it touches the clear. And they'll run into each other and they'll kind of make a nice seam right in the middle. And I want to be sure and go around my post like I did before. This time I think I'll just use my needle tool and pull the liquid clay around the post like that. And then what you want to do is keep filling until you have the mold to level. But what I'll do this time is I'll fill the clear area with more clear, and then I'll fill the peacock pearl area with more peacock pearl until it becomes level. That way, when you look at the earring, the clear won't be tainted or tinted with any of the other color. It will still be clear at the bottom. Now once you have your mold filled to level, you want to tap it again. And if you just keep adding the colors in there in even layers, they won't blend together. They'll just meet in the middle and make a really nice seam. And then you could fill the entire mold and bake all of that together at once. And that's ready to go in the oven. We'll talk a little bit more about baking after the next mold. Let's take a look at one more mold that you can use with Liquid Sculpey, and this is the larger shapes that we have, 6 shapes in here that we call this the geometric mold. Now this one, you'll notice, doesn't have any holes or any posts in it, and that gives you the freedom to fill it however you like. And you're not you can fill it however you like, and then you can finish your pieces however you want, because you're not relegated to the hole position. You can use a drill or some pinch bales or whatever you want to finish out your pieces. So this time I want to show you what you would do if you want to add glitter to your vessel, and you can just use this little scoop tool, or any little, if you have some old baby spoons or espresso spoons, anything that's really small, like an 1/8 teaspoon measure, you can use you know, to spoon in your glitter. And then you just want to stir that all up. And if you look in there, you can see you can add as much or as little glitter as you want. And I'm going to use the green metallic this time, emerald metallic, and we're going to fill a pendant half full with the green metallic, emerald metallic, and then the other half with the clear and the glitter. And this is a really nice combination. So this is a little bit bigger mold, so I'm just going to pour it in. And you'd want to just pour enough liquid that they touch each other, like that. There's a really big bubble right there, so I'm going to tap the mold and see if I can get that out, and it just completely disappeared. I'm not to level yet. I just wanted to mark my territory with each color, and then I'm going to go back and bring these up to level, one side at a time. I'm not trying to blend these, I'm just trying to make like a half and half pendant with a lot of visual interest, so I'm going back and forth. More emerald metallic on the top, and a little more clear on the bottom. Okay, now I'm ready to tap again and really get those air bubbles to release. And like I said before, if you see stubborn ones that look like they just won't pop, just go ahead and use a needle tool to pop them. Let's take a look at making a like a marbled technique that's a little bit different in this mold. And in this is the sample that I want to show you. I'm going to make a piece that has really organized stripes in it. So let me show you how I did that. And I'm just going to use the colors that I have here. And this is the peacock pearl. This looks really pretty with colors that are analogous colors. They're kind of beside each other, you know, on the color wheel. So blues and greens together. I'm just layering these in. I'm not filling completely. I'm just letting them run together slightly, like so. Okay, and then I'll tap it again just to make sure it goes flat. And this time what I'll do to create this type of a pattern, all I did was, you need to have a paper towel handy, and what I did was I just dipped in and went from bottom to top with a needle tool. Then I wiped it off. Then I went in the same point at the bottom and I went halfway out and dragged from bottom to top. And I'm wiping my tool clean every time I use it. And there you get a really pretty controlled marbled pattern. But like I told you before, when you want a marbled pattern that's going to be on the face side of the mold, which is the bottom side, you want to not fill completely. That way you're dragging completely through with your needle tool. The needle tool has to go all the way in, touch the mold, and drag through. Now at this point, it's kind of sad, but we could, to cover that up, it's still going to be pretty under there, but we'll just go ahead. What we need to do is fill this to level. And I'll fill to level, matching color on top of color. Now this time, if we want to repeat our pretty marbled pattern on the back, we can do that. Just don't go all the way through. Just do through on the surface. And wipe your tool between each stroke. if you go all the way through, you're going to mess up the pattern that you already laid down in the bottom. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about baking. This is a tip that I've figured out based on baking techniques from people who bake cakes. And what I've done is I have a damp dish towel laying on my baking tray. Now this is a dish towel that was soaked in water and wrung out as much as possible. This type of mold you don't have to bake on a dish towel, but it really benefits these thicker molds to bake them on a dish towel because it slows the baking process down and makes it more uniform. What can happen if you put a thick mold like this directly on a baking tray is the bottom of that mold is going to get hot way faster than this side of the mold. And what that does is cause warping. Then your pieces that you mold are also warped. But if you bake on an insulated barrier like this damp towel, then it slows down. It doesn't let the bottom of the mold, get super hot fast. It gets the whole mold hot evenly, and it keeps the pieces from warping. So that's just a little baking tip. But you still follow the baking instructions just like they're printed on the label or on our website. You do that all the same. You just add the little barrier there. Let's talk a little bit more about inclusions because we did some of that with the glitter. And also I want to talk about trimming. So this piece came out of the mold and I had gotten a little bit sloppy right here. And I just want to show you that it's so easy to clean up Liquid Sculpey. You can just go right along the edge and trim away that excess. Also, sometimes when you work with any type of resin or Liquid Sculpey, anything that's a liquid that cures, a lot of times the edge that touches the mold is going to have a little bit of a lip there, just like this piece. And you can just take your scissors and just follow that little lip and cut it right off as long as it's Liquid Sculpey. I think with resin you would need to sand it. But with Liquid Sculpey, you can just trim off any little edges that you feel with sharp scissors. Now, our Sculpey molds are also, you can use those with resin, so just like you can any silicone mold. So it's really versatile that you can go back and forth with, different products in the same molds. This one has an inclusion of flowers. This one is pepper, which you could use any herbs. This one is a duotone of glitters. And this one is like glitter foils because they're sort of larger. So you can just include anything you want into glitters or into Liquid Sculpey as inclusions. Okay, so when these molds are done, all you have to do is just flex the mold and the baked piece will come right out. Next, let's take a look at taking a baked piece out of a 3D mold. This is our 3D silicone mold. It makes really cool 3D shapes like that. There's a half round, 2 cubes, a square and a rectangle, some sticks, and then this, my favorite one, is this bullet shape. And it comes with these little rods that you run through the jump ring in the clay. You put I'm just going to remove this real quick. You can suspend a jump ring or an eye pin, whatever you want, on the rod. You dip that down in the Liquid Sculpey, and then you put the rod in these little brackets, and that holds it in place. But it can become a little difficult to get the piece out of the mold, and I've developed a trick for getting that out as well. You just take some of our Sculpey clay softener and thinner in the liquid form, and what you want to do is break the seal between the baked clay piece and the mold, and then you just put one tiny drippy drop of this in that gap. Just let it go down in there, and then you use your needle tool to swim that liquid thinner all around the molded piece. So I've got some on my needle tool and I'm just making it go all the way around, like so. And then that makes the piece just release so easily. Once it comes out of the mold, you're going to want to wipe it clean because now we have a little bit of that thinner on there. It doesn't hurt anything, but you don't want your piece to be, have that on there when you are wearing it. So just wipe that clean and it's ready to assemble into a jewelry item. So one more way I want to talk about Liquid Sculpey is that you can tint it to other colors. You can mix all Liquid Sculpeys together and make, you could use black to tint the peacock pearl and make it a deeper peacock pearl color. You can add white to colors to make them more pastel. Another thing you can do is you can use your alcohol inks that you might have on hand for other crafts and put that right in the Liquid Sculpey. And so I'm going to tint, I already have clear in here with the gold, and I'm just going to tint that with a drop or two of this green alcohol ink. Now you'll want to do some testing when you use alcohol inks. Some brands of alcohol inks, once they're heated and baked in the Liquid Sculpey, they get a lot darker, and some stay true. So you just want to experiment with that, make some little samples, but you can really have a whole range of custom colors by incorporated alcohol inks into your Liquid Sculpey designs. You just stir that all up, and then if we wanted to, we could just take one of our molds again and pour that in. And just make the most unique jewelry items to match anything that you want to. Then be sure and tap it to release air bubbles. We always tap to release air bubbles. And then that goes in the oven on our damp cloth and you bake it like normal. Okay, so that is the alcohol ink. Let's see another way to use Liquid Sculpey as an antiquing medium. So here I have, this piece is already done, and all the black lines that you see in this piece are black Liquid Sculpey. Let me show you how I did that. I'm making a little dish, and I already have all these sort of carved lines in place, and all you have to do is squirt some, I picked black because this is turquoise granite and it has little black flecks, but you could just pick any color of Liquid Sculpey that really matches, your design that you have planned out, and you would just want to keep working it in there until you have all the little nooks and crannies filled, and you can add more and keep pushing it in. So right now we'll just act like our nooks and crannies are all filled. Then what you want to do is just take some paper towel and you want to wipe out as much as you can. Now that looks pretty good, but I find that because of the black and because I'm wiping, that there is a little residual of that black on top of the turquoise in certain places. And so what you can do to really refine that finish is you can take your paper towel and put just a few drops of our thinner and softener on there, and then go back over the surface, and that will really wipe away all that residual staining that might be left on top of the turquoise, and it'll just bring the turquoise color back to its true self and not be stained by the black. And so that is a really great way to use Liquid Sculpey as an antiquing medium. Okay, next let's look at using Liquid Sculpey to mimic a paint project by doing a pour. And a lot of people, you can go on YouTube and see all the beautiful paint pours that people are doing with acrylic paint, and we like to mimic that look with Liquid Sculpey. So what I'm going to do is layer in this little cup. I'm going to layer in some peacock pearl and some blue and some white, and I feel like my white is going to be thick, so let me show you how to thin that. White is oftentimes thicker than the metallic colors. So first what I'm going to do is check it. I took the lid completely off, and I'm going to go in here and check it with a stirring tool and see how well it drips. And it's not real thick, but I still feel like it's going to be thicker than my navy and my peacock pearl. And so what you want to do now is just thin that a tiny bit, because in a pouring technique like this, you want your liquids to be even. So I'm going to add a little bit of our thinner and softener in there, just a few drops at a time. You want to, you don't want to overdo it with that. You want to just put it in and stir, and then you can evaluate if you want to add more or not. And I want to add a little bit more because I feel like this isn't as free-flowing as the navy metallic and the peacock pearl. A good way to test for this would be to just stir up your liquids and then squirt out little drips of it on a piece of paper or a piece of glass and then bake it. But what you're looking for is how quickly the liquids run, and you want them to all run about, you know, the same amount. Okay, I think that's going to be good. So that's a really good use of liquid thinner and softener. So what we're going to do is just keep layering these three colors in the bottom of this cup. And what I do is I put, so I have all three colors, and then I just keep layering opposite colors over the other colors. So I'm not putting the same color on top of itself. Making little pretty puddles of the different colors. When you do a pour technique like this, it's really nice. I feel it comes out the best if you mix a flat color with the metallics. The pours I've done that are all metallics, our metallics are so beautifully shiny that when you bake them, sometimes you can't see the difference between, say, the pearl and the rose gold, or the gold and the silver. So if you add some of your flat color in, like this white, it really helps break up and create more detail in your pour. Like you can see in this one, the white is what really accentuates all the beautiful swirls. So you can experiment with this. The more layers you put and the smaller the layers are, the more marbling you'll get. You could control the marbling and have bigger patches of color by making less layers. I'll just do one more shot of this navy metallic over here. All right, and that's it. Now I've just got a cup of all those colors layered in there, and I'm just going to pour it into this empty wooden tray. And I'm really letting the colors, you know, do what they will as they come out. And I feel like I'm not getting much white, so I'm just going to add some white at this point. I'm going to add it to what I have left. And pour again. I'm going to go back here and add some white in. All right, and when you get to the bottom, it's fair game to just go in here with a tool and just swipe a lot of this out. All right, at this point what you can do is you want to tap this to release air bubbles, and then you want to tilt it from corner to corner and help the liquid fill up the tray. This also helps the colors swirl into each other. Make sure it goes all the way into the corners, and then you want to pull the excess liquid kind of back to the middle. All right, tap again to release air bubbles. And then if you have areas where like this white is kind of like stark, you can just take a needle tool and blend back through that and kind of help it incorporate into the rest of the design. And we can do the same thing over here where we had a lot of navy metallic. And you can do that as much or as little as you like, but you get just a really beautiful organic pattern, and then that's ready to go into the oven. Now you don't need to bake that on the damp towel, just put that right on a baking tray and it will be done following the baking instructions. Okay, let's see what is next. I want to show you, before we move on to we're going to do window clings at the last, and right before that I want to show you a couple more tips. So this is like a coaster project that I did, and what I did to finish this piece is I added a layer of clear Liquid Sculpey as a glaze, and I hope you can see how well that creates a shine on the top. When the Liquid Sculpey comes out of the oven, because this is a Primo base, so we're baking at 275 to honor the Primo, the Liquid Sculpey, the clear, is not going to be this clear, and all you have to do is take a hot heat gun and just go over it, applying heat until it really shines. In that way you can really shine up the clear Liquid Sculpey without burning the Primo, because you can be very selective about where you aim the heat. So clear Liquid Sculpey makes a fantastic glossy glaze. And I want to show you how to finish a piece as a jewelry item. I was going to show you how to drill a hole in this one, but it already has a hole in it. So I'll drill a hole in this one. And this is a common way to finish Liquid Sculpey pieces that don't have a hole. So what you want to do is decide, like on these Morocco pieces, do you want the hole to go, front to back, or do you want the hole to go side to side? And that's completely up to you. That's why we left the hole posts out of this mold. Same with this piece. You can determine where you want the hole to be. And I'm just going to go right through front to back. I'm using a Dremel tool. These are super easy to use and really safe. I've had this one close to 30 years and I've never hurt myself with it. It's got variable speeds on the side, and I just kind of put it up to about the midway, and then I make sure I have, this is just a piece of wood that I have under here, because once I go through the piece I want some sort of support for the bit to go into that won't hurt my work surface. So I'm going to turn it on and drill straight through until I get to the wood block, and then I'll resume talking. Okay, so I just went through till I heard it and felt it hit the wood. It obviously did. And then I'll just clean up the hole with my fingertips. Dremel tools like this, you can get all sorts of blades for them. I think this is probably a 16th blade. You can get teeny tiny ones, larger ones, just depending on the hole size. And they're really easy to use, and they're a great tool for making holes in your clear Liquid Sculpey pieces that are already baked. Okay, I think the last thing that we really need to talk about is clings. And window clings are a fun way to use Liquid Sculpey, because Liquid Sculpey, after it's baked, has a static quality to it, and you can make window clings. So for a window cling to work real well, you want to use one of your thicker clays for the outline. And I always test it first to see that it's going to hold a line, or how hard I should squeeze, what size line I want to produce. And so I just have a copy of whatever it is I want to be my window cling, and I have a piece of glass over the top. You always want to write on clean, clear glass, because then when the Liquid Sculpey comes out of the oven, it will be so smooth on the back that it will want to stick to glass again. Plus, you can completely see through your glass, to see what you're tracing. So first, in a piece like this, if you wanted to do multiple colors, you would always do the outline first, and you could do it in white or black or silver. And then you would bake your outline. And then once the outline is secure and cured, you could go back in with other colors of Liquid Sculpey and make it multicolored, and the black lines, which are already cured, would provide a structure that would keep the other colors in place. So when you're using Liquid Sculpey as a window cling design, just pick out ones that, you know, are thicker and hold a good line. After this is completely done, you can also use scissors to trim out the edges and make them really crisp and sharp. So I would love to see what you're making with Liquid Sculpey. Liquid Sculpey is the perfect medium for all kinds of projects, you know, from jewelry to home decor. There's so much you can do with it. It's so fun to play with. If you post to social media, I would love to see what you've made by using hashtag Sculpey or hashtag Liquid Sculpey, and send in your questions and let us see what it is that you're making with Liquid Sculpey.